Let's take a look at the top 5 highest graded Mountaineer players on offense according to PFF in the game against Iowa State. Let's go. What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Jordan Cruz back here with the Country Roads webcast. And before I get into this video, I just want to give you a quick reminder. If you would do us a favor, scroll down, hit that thumbs up, give us the like on this video. That'll help its performance and help future videos performances on the channel as well. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. And as always, a link to our merch store is in the video description down below. Head over there if you'd like to get a Country Roads webcast hat, shirt, sticker, phone case, coffee mug, you name it, you can find it with the CRW logo on it there. And that's one of the best ways to support us as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads webcast community throughout Mountaineer Nation. That being said, let's get into it. All right, so there's no way to really sugarcoat this one. Easily the worst offensive performance of the season for the West Virginia Mountaineers. So, and I think these grades reflect that. You will see 4 out of the top 5 minus the highest graded player for the Mountaineers this week are all in the 60s, mid to low 60s, which typically, obviously, the top 5s, anywhere from 70 to mid to high 80s. So that just kind of goes to show you right there, based on these grades, the poor performance that the West Virginia offense put on in this game against Iowa State. But nonetheless, still got to cover it. So let's dive in on some of these player grades. Coming up at number 5 for the Mountaineers on offense was right guard Doug Nestor, coming out with a 63.5 offensive grade for the Mountaineers in this one. And I think the one good thing you can say about the Mountaineer offense that has been consistent, I guess, is the offensive line. They have popped up, here consistently on the top 5 highest graded player videos week in and week out. And Doug Nestor's been one that's been on there a lot. And here he is again. And I think he's had a pretty solid season, much better than his first season with the Mountaineers last year. He's really improved a lot this season, as has the offensive line as a whole. And he comes out as the 5th highest graded Mountaineer in this one with a 63.5 grade. Number 4 highest graded player for the Mountaineers, a fan favorite of mine, since his freshman season. Of course, you know that if you follow the Country Roads webcast there. But wide receiver, Sam James, 64.1 overall grade to come out as the 4th highest graded Mountaineer in this game against Iowa State. And, the past couple of weeks, I really thought Sam James has really been I don't want to say the lone bright spot on offense, but he's the guy that you can see. He's really out there. He wants to win, and he's working hard. He's given forth great effort. I know 2 weeks ago, Neil Brown even said they had Sam James open. He could add, 200 plus yards receiving, and they missed him on, some deep balls where he had the guys beat by, 2 steps, and the ball was just, overthrown slightly or off time slightly. And I think in this game, there was a couple occasions of that as well. He did a good job getting behind the defense at times, and the throws just weren't quite there, as we saw JT Daniels have by far his worst game of his college football career and his worst game as a Mountaineer. But nonetheless, Sam James performed well enough despite that in other facets of the game, which he's a guy I think could work his way onto an NFL roster because of the work he does on special teams as a gunner on punt coverage and in other areas as well. And he's a guy that's willing to do the dirty work for you. So who knows? Sam James could end up, maybe an undrafted free agent, catches on playing special teams with somebody, but I definitely think he's got a shot in the pros, and he deserves it as well. Great guy, stuck around this whole time with the West Virginia, could have left, didn't, stuck it out here. Hate that he's having the year that he's having this year. Hopefully, maybe he'll come back. He can utilize that extra year, come back next season. We'll see what he decides to do. But nonetheless, I thought he's really stood out the past couple of weeks, and PFF agrees with that as that goes along with his grade, and he comes out as the 4th highest graded Mountaineer on offense in this game against Iowa State. Continuing the theme I mentioned earlier at number 5 with the offensive line, and probably the player that's been the biggest mainstay on these player grades offensively. On the defensive player grade video, which you've checked that out if you haven't already, I mentioned that Dante Stills has been the mainstay and been there basically every week. Zach Frazier here, as you see, coming out with a 64.9 grade in this one. The Mountaineers center has been on this list almost every week as well. I think he's one of the most underrated offensive linemen, not only in the Big 12, but throughout college football. He calls out the protections. He sets everything up for the offense and does a great job of it, and has to study a lot of film in order to be able to do so. Does a great job of that. And then, of course, his physicality, you can't go without mentioning that. Former high school wrestler, really helps him a lot with his pad level, his leverage, and he does a great job for the Mountaineers there in the middle. and he's a guy that's really going to help shape the future of this program, however that turns out, I feel like, because he's going to be a mainstay on that offensive line for the next couple of years and comes out as the third highest graded Mountaineer in this one with the 64.9. Speaking of mainstays, he's going to have, a friend that's going to be a mainstay as well, and that's going to be another West Virginia native that's going to be here for the next couple years also. This one plays left tackle, and of course, that's Wyatt Milam with the 67.2 grade in this game against Iowa State to come out as the second highest graded West Virginia Mountaineer on offense. Like I said, the one consistent throughout the offense, I guess you could say, is the offensive line has been grading out pretty good week in and week out. At least one, usually multiple, popping up in the top 5 highest graded players for the Mountaineers on offense. So I think that, for one, definitely shows the offensive line has improved. It's the best offensive line we've seen in the Neal Brown era, easily, for sure. But also, one thing, now that we're, nearing the end of the season, that kind of worries me. Doesn't that say something about the West Virginia skill players as well, though? That if in the top 5 highest graded players on PFF every week, 2 or 3 of them are always linemen. It depends on which side of the coin you want to look at. If you want to look at the offensive lines really performing well, that's why they're up here. Or you can look at the skill positions aren't performing up to par because a lot of them are not up here, not consistently anyway. Consistently, you would love to see your quarterback on here week in and week out. And JT Daniels made a couple performances. I'm not trying to harp on him too much, although, his performance was abysmal in this game. I'm sure we all know that. But I think you need your skill players to, be up on this top 5 highest graded players list week in and week out. If you're going to be an explosive, successful offense, I think that's definitely a recipe. But who knows? Maybe I'm just reading into it too much. But the one thing you can say for sure is the West Virginia offensive line has improved. Wyatt Milam, a big part of that, comes out as the second highest graded Mountaineer with a 67.2 grade. And then the highest graded Mountaineer is a quarterback, and it's not JT Daniels. It's Garrett Green, coming out with by far the highest grade for the Mountaineer offense in this one with the 78.1 offensive grade. And like I said, he came in mop-up duty. He played a few snaps other than that earlier in the game in the role that they've been using him, kind of that slot receiver type role. They'll motion him in the backfield, throw swing passes to him, hand it to him or whatever. And he's done a good job with that. But I was most impressed with his performance when he got into the game late on that drive. And say what you will, maybe Iowa State, wasn't playing the same coverage. Maybe it's more of a prevent type coverage, and that's definitely a possibility. But nonetheless, he still made great work of it. I believe he was 4 or 5, 40-some yards and a touchdown. The West Virginia offense had been stagnant the entire second half up to that point, only had 3 total yards of offense in the second half. And he almost equaled JT Daniels' pass yards total on that one drive. Many people are speculating JT Daniels is hurt. If he is, the coaches need to not play him, and they need to delve in on that because, like someone said to me, shout out to Blue Hawk 71, one of our subscribers here. He has said that, maybe the coaches don't know that he's hurt, and that definitely is a possibility. He could be hiding that. We've seen that in the past. Clint Trickett hid concussions from the coaching staff up until late in the season back in 2015, 2014 rather, excuse me. So it's definitely possible. But Garrett Green, I think, is a guy that's maybe shown to have more potential than we thought he did as a passer. We knew that he could do things in the run game, but I thought his arm has looked good at the times that he's gotten in to the game this season. I know people are saying, maybe West Virginia should bench JT Daniels, and I'm not saying that that would be a bad decision, but what I will say is, as much as I'd like to see more of Garrett Green, got 13 snaps in this game, I'd love to see him, get in on more action. The West Virginia coaching staff has shown that they're loyal to the players that they're loyal to. I don't see them benching JT Daniels for the final 3 games. And all we can hope is that his performance improves. But if it doesn't, and it's anywhere near the performance of Iowa State, I think you got to give Garrett Green a chance, especially with what he showed you in this game when he got onto the field. And I really, as we all always say, love his attitude, love his moxie, love the energy that he brings. And I think he's just one of those guys that has that little bit of an it factor that can really raise the level of the players around them. And at the quarterback position, that's really what you want your guy to do. You want him to be a vocal guy, a team leader, and that more importantly has that energy that raises the energy of those around him and raises the playing ability of those around him. And for all the good things you can say about JT Daniels, he's, a very even-keeled guy, not very emotional. And I think to this point, he hasn't really raised the level of those around him. The skill players West Virginia has don't look any different than they had, prior to JT Daniels' arrival. But I think Garrett Green's a guy that maybe has that ability to be able to do that. But the only way to find out is for him to get more playing time. Who knows if that'll happen this season or moving forward, but I definitely like what I saw from him in this game as he comes out as the highest graded Mountaineer player on offense with his 78.1 offensive grade against Iowa State. And that'll pretty much wrap us up here with our top offensive player grades video for this week in the game against Iowa State. Of course, be on the lookout for the series to continue next week. Early to midweek is usually when it releases, following the game against Oklahoma. We'll have this out again. And of course, the snap count series, which check that out if you haven't already. Other than that, plenty of other content coming here on the channel. Oklahoma preview pod coming soon. Iowa State review pods out. Check that out. And then we did a post-game reaction show to the first West Virginia basketball game of the season. You can check that out here on YouTube. And then, of course, we will have CRW Hoops Pod episodes coming along as well. So all kinds of content coming out here from us at the Country Roads webcast. If you're a Mountaineer sports fan, no reason not to hit that subscribe button. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. And there's going to be plenty of it moving forward. And if you enjoyed this, do us a favor, hit the like button before you head out. That'll help this video's performance and help future videos performances as well. And of course, we love when you chime in here as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads webcast community throughout Mountaineer Nation. So let me know some of your thoughts about the Mountaineers' offensive performance in this game. And what about Garrett Green? Do you think maybe he should see more playing times? And what do you think about the status of JT Daniels? And, do you think he's injured? And do you think the Mountaineers should continue to use him going forward? Anything that you want to respond to there, or anything else you want to chime in with, drop it in the comments. We really appreciate those interactions always here. Like I said, as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads webcast community throughout Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz. And until next time, let's go, Mountaineers.